Welcome back to the channel. Earlier this week I travelled up to the NEC in Birmingham for Motorcycle Live. It was my second time going and honestly had an amazing time, saw lots of familiar faces, some brilliant brands on display, and the likes of CCM, Langen, who went there to announce their new Lightspeed, so more about that to come, and then also Ducati, who looked phenomenal as ever and honestly probably stole the show from everyone else. They just were incredible. So all in all, it was a brilliant day. I took my little SONY A7 IV and it was a perfect opportunity for me to practice my panning shots and bits and pieces to get some B-roll for this video. And really what I wanted to do is just give my perspective on the day, talk about and show some of the bikes that really caught my eye, the ones that I just think were best in show, and then finally just sort of round it all up with a summary. Enjoy. Thanks so much for being here. So starting off the event by visiting the CCM stand. Now for those of you who know me, I've been obsessed with CCM for as long as I can remember. I think I first saw them at a Goodwood show many years back and was just amazed at sort of the idea of this space frame and this light looking bike and this single piston. So it was great to see them. It was actually really nice as well because last year they had a good position, but their stand was really dark, whereas this year it was all open, really well lit, and you could just actually really get an appreciation for what these bikes are. So of course saw the Bobber there, saw the Maverick. Their bikes just look great, and honestly I want to get out on one again. So I managed last year or earlier this year to do one of their little test rides that they did. They were going around the country offering tours to people. And I thought I need to jump on this, so they actually went over to Newlands Corner and I was able to ride one there for the first time. And they're just a bucket load of fun is the only way to describe them. Think about being on a 125, but then multiply that power, because I think they're about 600cc, and you're just this lightweight, nimble, agile frame that just wants to fly around the place, whether it be on back roads, A roads. I haven't taken it on a motorway or anything like that, so I don't know how they are at speed, but sort of around the 40, 50, 60 mile per hour mark, they're just tremendous loads of fun. So it was lovely seeing them and chatting to the team there and getting familiar with everyone. There's an opportunity for me later this year or early next year to actually get out on one. I'll have one on loan, so that'll be really exciting for my Instagram page, but also for here. So when I do have those press bikes, it'll be interesting to hear what you guys, what you want to see at the end of the day. Is it more POV rides? Is it actual reviews? Let me know. It'd be good to get an understanding of what you want to see, and then I can tailor my content accordingly. So next up we have Langen Motorcycles, and I didn't actually really know much about them until I discovered them on their website when I was looking at the Motorcycle Live agenda. The company, the brand, is created by a chap called Christopher Ratcliffe, and it ties in quite nicely to CCM because he actually had a career there for 10 years, I believe. Before that, he was working with TVR. So the guy's had an amazing career. He's really got some phenomenal brand names to his name. And he's created two motorcycles, the first of which was a 250cc two-stroke, which, I mean, this thing is just beautiful. You look at it, it is a work of art. I know very little about two-strokes. I've never ridden one, but from what I've heard from people through the grapevine, but also on the day when I was filming this bike and I heard people just talking about it then and there, this is a very special machine. It weighs something like 114 kilograms. It's utterly bonkers. It's got a carbon fibre fuel tank. It's just everywhere you look is carbon fibre. Again, a space frame similar to that of CCM. Very lightweight. Powerful, I think, from this 90-degree V-twin. But, I mean, again, they're limited edition. They had three on display there. One was this beautiful silver and then you could see the carbon fibre weave. They had one which was yellow. They also had one which was purple. So anyone that goes ahead and actually purchases one of these has the opportunity to make them unique to themselves. So they can customise it in whatever way, shape or form. And colour being the most obvious way of doing that. But it's just a beautiful, beautiful bike where you have these clip-ons, a proper low-down riding position. And it was something bonkers, like it red lines at 14,500 RPM. But I think the power band's a bit lower than that. I think it's around the 9,000 to 11,000 RPM mark. But the fact it can even go up to 14,500 RPM, you can just imagine what that would sound like. So unfortunately, I've never actually seen one moving in the flesh or heard it in the flesh. It's not like they fired up on the day. But just seeing it there, even stationary, it was honestly a work of art. And then Christopher also used Motorcycle Live as an opportunity to announce his new bike, which is the Lightspeed. Now, again, I've got some numbers in front of me because this bike sounds and looks awesome. So the version he had there was this like deep lavender purpley colour. It looked really good, especially under the lights. But this is going to be a 2025 production model. Again, it's going to be limited edition. I don't know how many units being put out and how much it's going to cost, but when I actually spoke to Christopher on the day, he said there have already been people who put orders and deposits down before they even knew what the bike was going to look like. And when I said, now the bike's been announced, what do people think? He said he's got some very happy faces. So that's all very encouraging. But it's a 1,190cc V-twin. It puts out 185 horsepower at 185 kilograms. So literally, it's one HP per 1 kilogram. It's perfectly balanced, meaning it's 1,000 horsepower per ton, which is, again, just these are crazy numbers. And just looking at it, I was in the stand there looking at it for a good sort of 5-10 minutes, just the way it was rotating on this podium. But you can see all the beautiful and intricate details that have gone into it, and even the rear end where it's all been milled out. I'm guessing it's aluminium, I might be wrong there, but the way the red light, the brake light, actually then reflects off these contours of the milling is a beautiful touch. So I dread to think what these machines are going to cost, but honestly, they are very special. And the guy has just done something magical himself and with a team as well. I don't know how many people are in the team, but when I looked on the website, it says there are people who have backgrounds from like McLaren and stuff. So we're talking big names, very clever, very experienced in their field. So well done Christopher. But yeah, Langen, I honestly think they're going to be a name to keep your ears to the ground kind of thing. They're just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger with more funding. Who knows where they're going to go? But it's really nice to see these bikes for the first time and be up close and just hear people talking about them. So I popped along to the BMW Motorrad stand, and again, this looks really cool because actually in the centre of it, they had like a dirt track. There's huge emphasis on their new R1300 GS. Now, I really don't know much about this kind of off-roading, ADV, adventure bike stuff. Apparently, it's a superb machine. I mean, the 1250, the 1250 GS is instantly recognisable and has made a huge name for itself. As someone who doesn't really and hasn't yet dabbled in that world, I mean, a lot of people probably give me hate for this, but I just brushed straight past it. I was like, cool, that looks nice, and just moved along. So the whole play pit they had in the middle, there's the off-roading section, was really purely to demonstrate the new capabilities of these new machines. But I brushed past it, and what caught my eye first of all was one of the M1000RR superbikes there, because these things just are insane. One thing BMW get right every single time, in my opinion, whether it be in their car, their automotive range, or whether on the motorcycles, is that front headlight. It's just so aggressive. The front end of these motorcycles is just like, wow, it's like a demon coming up behind you. You can imagine being on a road and all of a sudden this just pops out of nowhere, just these evil looking eyes and these lights just coming towards you. So the designers, they really know what they're doing when it comes to that front end. But again, I sort of moved along past there, acknowledged it, moved on because it was really busy, and they had a whole area for their R18s, which was really nice to see because I adore the R18. It's such a fun bike, and I've had some amazing trips on them. Julie and I even went to the Cotswolds a couple of times on one, and I know for a fact she wants me to get one of those bikes just because they're so comfortable to ride. I become a lot more calm when I'm riding one, and she just enjoys being a pillion princess and sitting on the back and just soaking up and just eating up the miles. So I was really excited when I saw this because there was the R90 100-year edition, which of course, remember, I took out on loan not too long ago, and this is paying homage to the 100 years that BMW Motorrad has been around. There are going to be only 1,923 units of these made, and I'm so honestly, I'm chuffed that I managed to actually get out and ride one, and I had it on loan for a good 3 weeks as well. So if you haven't actually, do go and check those rides out. I put up like a POV of me riding to West Berkshire Cars and Coffee a while back, and it was just a lovely machine. It grabs so much attention because the whole tank is chrome, and then has this beautiful badge on it. It's not just like a part here and there, it's literally the whole tank is chrome, and it pays homage to the predecessor bikes with that sort of black and white pinstripe decals. So honestly, beautiful machines. So it was nice to see that BMW had such a large presence there, and they were attracting a lot of people, as I say, mainly for their new GS range, rather than sort of the R18s and the other bits and pieces. But it was really nice to see them. I was looking at all these manufacturers, and then I figured it would be nice to actually see what else is on the side, on the sideline, so to speak, because you get such a mixture there. You get sort of people selling helmets, you get people selling alcohol and booze, you get people selling protective clothing, mental health stuff. It's a real mixture of the type of people that are on the sidelines. But there was one that I really wanted to see, and that was Ultimate Ear, who's actually one of my clients, or one of my partners. So for those of you who aren't aware of Ultimate Ear, they're pretty much the industry leader. Whenever your ears are at risk of being damaged by excessive noise, they're the guys to go to. So they've been in the business, I think, for 21 years or so, and just have incredible experience when it comes to protecting your ears. And I've been using them, as time flies, maybe the past 2 years. And they're custom molded earplugs. They actually take a mold of your ear and then build and make your earplug, your personalised earplug, to that mold. So, I got my licence 5 years ago or something crazy like that, 5-6 years, and for so long was just riding with a helmet or an open face helmet with nothing in my ears, and you just get bombarded by the wind and noise and whatever it might be, and you can't just put up with it. You're like, this is just one of the parts I have to accept when it comes to riding a motorcycle. And I just can't believe how much of a fool I was, really, because I would do some journeys, just absolutely gunning it down the motorway, and the noise would just be mad. You could barely hear yourself think. And eventually I got myself a Cardo, so I could actually start listening to music and make phone calls and whatnot whilst on the ride. And they had these speakers in there, and they just weren't doing it. They weren't cutting it. They were pressing against the ears as well. It was uncomfortable to put on, or they'd fall out of place. So I started looking around, and that's when I came across Ultimate Ear, and went and got my ears moulded. And my first set were the sound ears. So these are on a tether, normal cable. You plug them in 3.5mm jack into the Cardo, and you can just literally have crystal clear noise because they have little speakers inside them. You can just get earplugs which just block the noise, but I like to actually be able to listen to music or an audiobook. So they've got little speakers in them. Once they're in, it's mad. The wind noise just disappears, but there's still enough sound being passed through that you can hear the exhaust, so you can hear, say, if there's a siren behind you or if someone's honking or something like that. It just removes that horrendous dead noise that you want to get rid of. They have been literally the accessory which I have on every single ride. There are a couple of accessories, a couple of brands out there that whenever I jump on two wheels, I have to have it all given times, and they are one of them. Honestly, just an amazing brand and one worth checking out. If you are worried about your ears, or you're new to riding, or you've been riding for a length of time and you're just relying on, just cheap ones from Amazon or something, but you actually want to get something which is moulded to your ear, I highly recommend checking them out. Just around the corner was MV Agusta, which is really nice to see. Again, a brand I don't know much about other than they create beautiful, beautiful machines. They had a couple on display. I mean, I know about the Super Veloce and stuff like that, but I think the Dragsters, but I don't really know the brands and the names that well. But for me, just to stand there and appreciate them, just to look at, was enough. A couple of people jumping on them, playing around, and I think they churn out some ridiculous figures in terms of horsepower, power to weight ratio, all that kind of stuff. And I actually think they used to have a location in London near to the old Michelin building, so around sort of Chelsea, neck of the woods, on the way to South Ken, off King's Road. But I think recently they've actually moved to be with all the other motorcycle manufacturers in Vauxhall. So you've got Ducati there, you've got KTM, I think you've got Triumph. So it's a nice little community that are coming together, and I need to double check that, but if they have opened, I definitely want to pop along and have a look, because I've never even sat on one of their bikes. I've seen them from afar, or up close like this. I've seen them from afar on the road, but I've never actually sat on one and experienced what they feel like. So that would be a really fun brand to start working with. But again, I don't know if they kind of do any press fleet or anything like that for content creators. Moving on from MV Agusta, from one Italian to the next, was Ducati. And as I mentioned earlier, they were the showstoppers for me. For one, they had an absolutely ginormous stand. It was huge. It was all white, so the light just reflected perfectly, and you could see the bikes. It was like studio lighting. It was beautiful. It just the bikes they had on display. They had a little corner for their new Scrambler Ducati range. So they had the Icon, the Full Throttle, and the Night Shift. They didn't have any of the 1100s or anything. It was literally just their 803s. So that was getting a lot of attention. They showed all the tanks there and how they can be customised. From there, they then had their brand new Hyper Motard, which is the most powerful single-cylinder engine ever produced. Absolutely mad. I remember seeing the teaser a couple of weeks ago, and everyone's like, what the hell is this going to be? And then they announced it's a new single-piston Hyper Motard, and that was getting a lot of attention. They had the motorcycles which have won races and championships on display. They had Diavels, they had the new Desert X and the Desert X Rally, V2s, V4s, Monster SP. Then round the back, and I only discovered this later on, I literally walked around and can't believe I missed it at first. They had a Street Fighter, I think it was a V4 SP, so already bonkers, but this was a Ducati Unica, and this is their custom house, internal custom house. So if you have a dream of one day just creating a one-off Ducati, that's where you go. And they actually had a sort of a poster there with some examples of what they've created. There's this beautiful, stunning Panigale on there in this rich blue, which just, it looked amazing. But this Street Fighter, it looked like a Hornet, because it was a combination of black and yellow. You could all the aero on there, all the winglets, everything about it, all the stitching for Ducati Unica, on the seat and then around the back as well. It was just, I dread to think what something like that cost, but my goodness, you're never going to see a bike like that again. So huge respect to the guy who designed it and came forward with that and paid the bill, because as I say, I dread to think what that would have cost. But one day I would honestly love to be able to do that. Just say, hey Ducati, I love your general fleet, but I want to make something even more special. And I looked again at this poster, and they had an 1100 on there, and it looked cool, but I mean, if I was to get a custom 1100, I would just, it just puts a smile on my face thinking about it. But honestly, the Ducati stand, they had that, they had all their awards printed onto the wall, showing all the championships they've won in 2023. These super bikes I mentioned that have actually won the races. It was awesome, and it was so well attended. Everyone was just swarming to go and see them. And they literally had like the middle stand of the whole place, so they had prime position. And considering the year they've had in MotoGP and all the other championships, it makes sense that they really put it forward and spent the big bucks on it. So honestly, Ducati just know what they're doing at the moment. The Scrambler side of things, it was getting a lot of attention, but and me personally, as someone who's done a lot with the Scrambler side of things, I am now at a point where I want to start actually experiencing raw Ducati. You know, what made them who they are. Looking at those Panigales, looking at those Street Fighters, the V2, the V4 equivalents, looking at the Diavel. I've been on cruisers before and bobbers before, but that's like a super cruiser. It just doesn't make sense on paper. So honestly, it was really nice seeing them and popping around and seeing what they had on offer. And you see little kids getting on there as well, and the smiles just sort of. These are the bikes which are the new poster bikes. You know, when I was growing up, it was more cars than it was bikes. But you can imagine people and little kids have got these bikes on their wall, looking at them, and here they are seeing them in the flesh, in the metal, so to speak. So honestly, phenomenal. From there, carried on branching around and made my way to Norton, which was lovely to see as well. I'm trying to even remember if they were there last year, and if they were, how much of a presence they had. But they obviously spent, again, quite a lot of budget on it, because they had a lovely stand, and they were paying homage to all their predecessors. So they would have one bike from goodness knows how long ago, 50 years ago, maybe if not more, and then they would have a modern V4 sort of next to it, and just seeing that evolution in engineering and design is just incredible. Because one of them, I'm afraid to say I don't know what the name of it was, but it was just like a push bike with a little engine attached to it on the A-frame. No idea what kind of CC that would have put out, 10, 20, 30 CC, absolutely no idea. And then next to it they had one of these V4s, and it's just like, what? Was it V4 or was it a Commando? I think they had a Commando next to it, but in the same colour, in the same livery. And it just, absolutely breathtaking. I also really liked the fact that they don't like hide anything. They're not afraid of hiding it, and they literally had a chassis there, a frame of their new Commando stripped back. They had their inline twin completely stripped back, and it was just showing all the inner workings. Like this is the power unit of a Norton. But my goodness, what a beautiful machine. And similar to CCM, I was speaking to the team there on the day, and they would like me to take one out. So having taken one out again earlier in the year, when I popped up to their headquarters and their factory, I was only on it for maybe half an hour or so, and I loved how raw it was, because there was no riding modes. There's nothing there to look after you. It's literally just, this is a bike with an engine, a gearbox, and you twist and go. You've got to be the one in control. You can't rely on something preventing you from slipping or reducing the power or whatnot when you're going around a corner and preventing the bike from slipping beneath you. It is literally just back to bare basics. And I love that, because my little Ducati 62 out front, the 399cc, it's like that. Okay, it's not a crazy powerful bike, but it has no rider modes on it whatsoever. It's just, whether it's come rain or shine, you need to know how to ride and what to do if things start to go wonky. But it was really nice to see them there. Beautiful stand, very well engaged with everyone, but just beautiful machines. And honestly, they're a big name to be coming back. I know they've been taken over by an Indian company. I can't remember the name for me, but they were bought for or given like 150 million or something to invest into the factory. And here they are producing, honestly, just works of art, just stunning machines. And because they're not producing X amount, they don't have to conform to any of the EU limits or EU emissions or anything like that. They can literally just create these bonkers bikes that sound amazing raw, and just, you just want one before they get to that point where they are producing a certain amount and have to rein it in and be a bit more well behaved. From there, I popped across and saw Triumph, and of course they were really pushing their new Stealth range, but also their new 400cc bikes, which, considering their price point, I think they're like £3,000 or £4,000, which is amazing for what you're getting. So they were, again, pushing quite a lot. Quickly rushed through Triumph, actually. There was only so much I wanted to see there, but I was delighted when I saw they had a Thruxton final edition. And of course, this was announced, as time flies, maybe a couple of weeks back now. But yeah, the Thruxton is no more. After all these years of being the most magnificent motorcycle that they produce, and like their peak motorcycle, if you will, of the fleet, it's no more. So to pay homage to it, they've created this final edition, which is this beautiful Triumph sort of British green, and it didn't disappoint. It really doesn't. Seeing the photos of it, I was like, wow. But when you're seeing it in person, it just didn't disappoint at all. Although they didn't make more of a big deal of it. I expected to be on a big podium and kind of look at this is this, but it was kind of tucked away in the corner, which was a shame because they're putting so much more emphasis on other bikes. Always lovely to see Triumph and what they're doing, and they're always producing something crazy or some limited edition, which is what I love about them, whether it be their gold line editions or their chrome editions, or in this case their new stealth editions. They're always doing something to try and make their Bonnevilles and their modern classics, I think that's what they call them, modern classics, to be ever so slightly more appealing. So I honestly feel like I could just carry on talking for ages, because there was so many manufacturers there, so many different brands, people on the sidelines, so many people doing different things. And I arrived there at something like 10 in the morning, or no, it started at 10, so probably about 10:30, 11, and didn't leave until 5 when it shut. And okay, I went around a couple of times, but every time I went around a loop, I felt like I discovered something new. So all in all, it's just a really fun event. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it's my second time going. I feel like it was an improvement from last year, and it makes me excited for what's going to happen from here on, next year and so on and so forth. Of course, I missed EICMA. I've never been to that, and that'd be an amazing event to go to, I think. That's like the big one. And then there's this one. And then, of course, there's the one in the Excel in London as well, which is actually closer to me. So that would be more appropriate to get to. Just honestly, there are so many brands I could talk about. You probably saw from the introduction that there are a couple other I featured. Maeving had quite a large presence there today as well. They're the electric bike company. They're definitely up and coming, and I'm hearing more and more good things about them. I don't know much about electric bikes. The only electric bike I've ever taken out is the one from Livewire, their original one. I haven't taken out the new sort of Scrambler style yet, so I don't think it's been released. But the original Livewire, and that was, they're wickedly fast, and it's something to get used to, that you've got this instant torque and no real sound apart from this little whine. But it's definitely upon us, things are changing, things are happening. I don't think the infrastructure is there for electric yet, but the way Maeving are going about it, where you can actually remove the battery, take it in to charge in your office or in your house if you live in a flat or something, if you don't have access to a plug-in outside, as most people in London probably don't, then that whole idea and that structure makes a lot of sense to be able to remove the battery. And I imagine in time there'll just be an area where you just have a load of batteries, you put it into a petrol station, and you go off to the corner, take one battery out, plug it in, take another one out, and off you go again. So you can literally be on the way in the same amount of time as you would if you were filling a car up with petrol or diesel. There's a lot happening there. They had a presence, and it was good to see them there and the way they're going. So honestly, I could keep on listing the brands that I saw there and the people I spoke to. But if you haven't been, add it to your calendar for next year. I've approached this been going on for quite a long time. I think it's about 30 minutes now, so I'm going to be quiet. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, you've enjoyed the B-roll that I put up and seeing the motorbikes in detail, you've enjoyed my opinion and perspective on the event, and please let me know what you think, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. All the best, bye bye.